two platforms. What's up? Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Lilikio. Butterfly, what's up? Welcome, welcome, y'all. Welcome, you guys. What's up, Truancy? Good to see you, man. How's everybody doing? Good to see you guys. Happy Saturday night. Very cool. What's up, Ray? Welcome, you guys. Welcome. We are going to have a robust discussion about something that most people don't even think about. Maybe half the population is completely. What's up, Wonder? I love that name. Hi, Trina. What's up? Welcome. Welcome, everybody listening on YouTube. Let's get right into it, my friends. Why wait? Let's do it. Sounds good. So, just a little bit about background about this. Some of you probably know. Some of you are probably maybe very much into consciousness. Hey, Skate, good to see you. Welcome back. Great to see you. So, for those of you who are consciousness fanatics like myself, bear with me. Let me lay the groundwork for people who are a little newer to this subject, okay? In case you don't know, it's what's up, news updates. Good to see you, bro. Uh, my buddy, John Weiber. Follow his channels on everywhere you can. News updates for real. He's one of the best places to get your news. Anyway, what I was saying is, not many people are aware that 95% of the thoughts that they are going to have tomorrow are the exact same thoughts that they had today. Most people don't think about that. They go about their day. Hey, Karen, good to see you. And they wake up in the morning and they brush their teeth and they go to the bathroom and they make coffee and they do it exactly the same way that they did it. Hey, Karen, that they did it the day before. And all the while they're doing it, they think that they're conscious of what's happening, but truth be told, it is the subconscious mind that is running the show. And all of us are a subconscious program. Whether we want to admit it or realize it or become conscious of it or not, that is a fact, right? That's just the way it is, because our minds are like, I mean, if you realize that the breakthroughs that came in computer technology came when they invited the neuroscientists and psychologists in to learn how the brain absorbs information and how we're programmed from birth. And that's a fact. All the breakthroughs were made when they went outside the box. They stopped talking to like nerd technicians and they start talking to people who understand how to program learning, right? And our minds are sponges. And from the time we're 0 to 7 years old, man, we are just absorbing machines. 0 to 7. That's why it's so important that parents, young parents, future parents, that we are aware that everything we're doing, everything that, all the behavior that we're modeling, or not modeling, the emotional responsibility we have is off the charts. But most parents don't know that. I know my parents weren't really aware of that. Most parents do the best they can with what they're working with, and they were programmed from their parents. And I would say 8 times out of 10, it's an improvement on what was, certainly. And that's our job to continue to improve, to break generational trauma that is passed down through abuse, through neglect, through all of those things, right? And so what I'm telling you is, most of us are running records from the past, whether we realize it or not. And that includes cultural, religious, ethnic. It's what you got from the guardians, parents that you had, right? And most of the time, that shit is absolutely dysfunctional, just look out into the world and see how dysfunctional the programming that we've got is. It's really obvious. It's immense. It's not a small scar. It's a gaping wound, and it's bleeding all over the planet. Because if we did not inherit these programs that were so flawed, we wouldn't live in this completely fucked up world that we're living in. The world would reflect the heaven that we've been gifted instead of this hellscape we've created. That's a fact. Because we have everything we could ever need. But most of y'all don't know it. And most people won't experience it because guess what? They got to go to hey, Carol, good to see you. They got to go to a job they hate. They don't have the luxury of pondering, and that is methodical. That is, the people who have come into the greatest authority on this planet have made that very deliberate. They've made you believe that war and strife and struggle and misery is just part of nature. It's Darwinism. And you got to understand that that is not an accident. It's not like, oh, this life is suffering. No, that's bullshit. That's what they've convinced you of. All these faulty programs that run through our minds, they run through as belief systems. Thank you, Carol. And so what is the remedy? What is the applicable remedy? The applicable remedy is to become aware of those faulty programs and to then begin to do something about them. And hey, Diana, good to see you. And if you want to understand how powerful this can be, I'll tell you a story about, just the first one comes to mind. My cousin smoked cigarettes his entire life, okay? His wife was awesome enough to kind of sway him, pressure him into going to a hypnotherapist, okay? And my cousin literally bought a pack of smokes on the way. Only went because his wife was like, "You have to go." He went to please his wife. He loves his wife, and he went through the whole thing. And lo and behold, on the way home, he found himself throwing away his cigarettes, and he didn't pick them back up. One of the most addictive habits on the planet. And guess what? Most behaviors that we embark on day by day, whether it be habitual stress, whether it be finding a drink, finding a fix, whether it be retreating, isolating, or the opposite, whatever it is that is the result of our habits, we find justification. Our subconscious will find justification. It will create, and when you get into the thick of this, what I'm talking about, my point with my cousin was, he went just to go, but what ended up happening was he reprogrammed his mind and he threw his cigarette pack out. That is a healthy reprogram, don't you think? Now, are there things in your life right now that you really could give or take? You really, like I don't smoke, but if I did, I would really want to fucking do something about it. I don't have any chronic problems that my lifestyle could, if I only adjusted it, could remedy, or I would go to work on that shit. I would not allow that to stand. I know the things that I do have to work on, continue to work on, and I've been doing this work for years. There's always something, There's patience, there's compassion, there's empathy, there's being non-judgmental. Even when you fall off the boat, whether it be with alcohol, whether it be like, I lost my temper, I stressed out and I lost my shit, I'm okay. Get back on your horse. Dust yourself off and get back on. Think about what happened and rehearse in your mind what you're going to do or what you could do next time it happens. Because then you form a blueprint of a different way to do this. And that's one of the best ways to begin to reprogram, right? You become aware of your habits and your subconscious. Listen, when you start to do this work, I'm telling you, man, your subconscious, which is attached very much to your ego, to your operating mainframe, right? You will be shocked, shocked at the tricks that it will pull, the justifications that it will give you, all the reasons why you should do that thing that deep down you shouldn't do, why it's okay for you to do that thing, whatever that thing is, whatever that habit is. And however it needs to trick you to get into the state, to get that result, to get that fix, it will provide you with. Well, I did that this morning, it's been 2 weeks since I had a drink. I fucking worked really hard, man. I fucking deserve it. I'm going to have that drink. Off the wagon. I'm just using that as a metaphor. You could extrapolate that through any addiction, whether it be rage, whether it be retreat, whatever maladaptive traumatic response you are addicted to, because the two go hand in hand. It's what you do and then what you do to get the fix, to soothe that, to be able to live in your skin, right? Some people are addicted to rage. Every day they find a fucking reason. They find a reason to rage. Some people are highly addicted to stress. And those people will find a reason to hit those stress buttons. Stress, oh fuck, I can't. They will find a reason. Their subconscious will find a reason. You could send them to the fucking tropics, and if they're there long enough, they'll find a reason. Addiction is addiction. It's a biochemical attachment, and we all have it. There's really no difference between a rageaholic and an alcoholic. Hey, Lady Kate, nice of you to join us. Someone who is addicted to pressing those buttons in their body, they're gonna find a way to get to that state until they don't anymore. And what I'm telling you is that the subconscious mind, that is that is your arch nemesis in this. That is what you have to defeat, if you will, if you want to use these battle terms that humans like so much. It is your arch rival, because it will take you down the path that it is comfortable taking you down, right? And if that means that, well, even though I did this today, I still have this to do. Fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. And then you end up in that exact emotional place that you were trying to avoid, that you justified imagining you were gonna get by. And there you are. Why? Well, the subconscious was like, he thinks he's gonna go right. Watch this. Make a left, it's shorter. Okay. Yeah, and you're off course. You're off course. Or you're off the wagon. You fell off the wagon, so to speak. And that's okay, because we all fall off the wagon. We all do. The question is, how long are you going to stay off? When are you going to get back on? That's always the question. And can you get back on without beating the shit out of yourself for falling off? Can you be as forgiving to yourself as you would be to your four-year-old boy or girl, or your 4-year-old self, because that's who's wounded. Every act, I read this the other day, and it is so profound. Every act that a human does is either a call for love or an act of love. It's one or the other. And if you remember that and apply it to yourself, then you can be a lot kinder and gentler and patient with yourself as you struggle through trying to change, right? I use YouTube subconscious reprogramming videos while I sleep. Karen, you said the key word, sleep, right? So in order to reprogram, we need to be in a suggestible mindset. Karen just said, I use YouTube subconscious reprogramming videos while I sleep. There's all kinds of programs you can use, but the programs understand that you are most suggestible as you enter into a theta brainwave state. And that's why meditation, guided meditations, are so good to reprogram, because even if you can't afford guided meditations, you could take your phone, which is a smartphone, unless you've traveled back from like 1999. It's a smartphone, and in all likelihood, it has a means of recording your voice. So if you just wanted to reprogram and you couldn't afford anything but a phone, and you have the ability to record your own voice, you could record your voice saying affirmations, and you listen to it every night before you go to sleep. Guess what? You're going to reprogram your brain, period. You're going to listen, if you don't realize how powerful this is, bear with me if you've heard me talk about this before. This is why the pharmaceutical companies pay big money to play their fucking 1 minute long, well, it has to be a minute long because 30 seconds are all the side effects. By the way, there are no side effects. There's just effects. If one of the side effects is death, it's not a side effect. It's an effect, my friends. Don't take it. Anyway, what's up, Brad? Good to see you, brother. My God, how many times have you heard that last side effect? It's like anxiety and death. I'm like, wait, did they just say death? That's not a side effect. That's really an effect. It's a real main effect. That's a main effect, not a side effect. Anyway, the reason why they play those commercials so late at night is because most people are, in their Netflix and chill state, and they're on the couch and they're like falling asleep, and their minds are just slipping into that theta brainwave state where they're extremely suggestible. And what happens? They play that shingles commercial. They play that freaking, you name it. The guiltiest, whatever Pfizer is trying to push, it's usually the quaxine manufacturers, and what happens? And that seed is planted in your subconscious, and you wake up and in a week you're like, oh my God, I have shingles. Look at this, and because you saw that, of course they show the guy on TV and it looks like he was run over by a freaking four-wheeler. Is so red, but it's a program, and they know how to program you for profit. That's what all ads are about. But the reason why the pharmaceutical companies pay big money is because they know if they can catch you in that suggestible state, they can program your ass into sickness. And they do. They do. But if they can program you into sickness, you can program you into health and vitality. You could program yourself into just about anything. But you got to get over the subconscious, because the subconscious will thwart you and keep you in your comfort zone and keep you from doing something new every fucking minute it can. Every minute of every day. Hey, Holly, good to see you. Your subconscious has it out for you, and you don't even know it because it's subconscious. It is below conscious, right? That's what sub means. So you got to realize, as you embark on self-improvement and self-love, that in a real way, your subconscious is your greatest enemy. Your subconscious will convince you not to do it. It'll give you it'll convince you that you don't know how to use, technology, that there's a voodoo hex on you, that your subconscious will create and find so many reasons for you to stay fucking stuck in what you're doing. It'll frustrate you. It knows what buttons to push to get you to think, you just can't do this. You have to overcome that. That is your job. Australia's in the house. What's up, Brad? That's your job. That is the challenge. The greatest challenge, right? My subconscious is a little bitch. You're not alone, Lady Kate. And so, God, I remember, I've struggled with so much self-loathing and addiction in my life that I really had to learn this lesson the hard way, and I really struggled trying to reprogram myself. First, not to be ashamed and hate myself for the habits I had, because that is the cycle of an addict. The shame will cause you to go right back into it. So when you fall off the wagon, the more self-love you can cultivate in yourself, the faster you're going to get off that train. The faster you're going to have conscious control of when and if you want to have a piece of chocolate, have a beer, whatever it is that controls you. Food addiction is real. There are people who struggle, and they struggle fiercely with food addiction. They can't stop. And I'm telling you, it's all the same centers in the brain. Yeah, cheese activates the same. This isn't a surprise to some of you who are like me and enjoy cheese so much, but cheese parks itself in the same centers of the brain as heroin does. That should come as no surprise to you if you like cheese, because good cheese is really good. Especially like mozzarella, Parmesan, on pizza or pasta. Anyway, cheese. There's a reason why we say it, and it makes us smile, okay? It's powerful stuff. It's as powerful as heroin, I'm telling you. It literally parks itself in the same parking spot as heroin in the brain. So anything can become anything can become an addiction, you know. And so it's very, very important that you first have to become aware of what thoughts are leading me down that path. And you got to understand that you have to change. You have to change everything you're doing. You can't just become aware of your habits. You have to change everything about what you're doing, or your habits won't change. You know, they used to say, well, you have to replace bad habits with good. And that is very true. You have to replace not only bad habits with good, but outdated, maladaptive ways of thinking with updated, good ways of thinking, healthy ways of thinking. You have to learn to mitigate those things that are going to trigger you and put in behaviors that you know you can depend on when it happens, right? Whether it's stress, whether it's alcohol, whatever your habitual addiction is, the first step is awareness. But then what? Awareness is going to get you, well, so it's going to get you to like first base, you know. And if you're, you know, an 18-year-old, well, maybe 18 is too old to be talking about bases, but you know, like you want to get farther than first base. You want to get to at least third. You know what I'm saying, right? Awareness will get you so far. Awareness will not change you, but you need to be aware of what you want to change. So great, now you know. You're starting to parcel it out and come into awareness of your really screwed up habitual tendencies, whatever they may be, right? Now what? How? Because that's great. I mean, that is step one. You know, that's why talk therapy is okay for a little while, because you may just figure out and learn how you got so fucked up. But guess what? Talk therapy is not going to help you. It's not going to heal you, because to heal, you need to recondition. You need to get into the programming. And the only way to do that is through the subconscious. So while the subconscious is the biggest, you know, roadblock to change, it's also the fastest way to do it. Because if you can get into the programming, you can change your habits. And I only know a few ways to do that. I mentioned my cousin who saw a hypnotherapist and quit smoking. There are people like Bruce Lipton who have programs right on their website, you know, that will guide you through an expedited way of changing. Meditation will change, because once you learn to quiet the mind, then you can reprogram it with what you want to embody, whatever it may be, right? Let me see. Somebody has a question. It says, that's right, deliberately create new neural pathways. That's exactly right. Fire and wire, new ways of thought, and so for some people, it's an emotional response that is the addiction, right? It's becoming overwhelmed. Okay, so how do I change that? Well, you have, like, okay, let me use myself as an example. And for those of you who heard this, my loyal followers, forgive me, bear with me as I share again with maybe some people who have not. But just so you understand, you know, so about 15 years ago, 2010? Yeah, my God, 15 years ago. You know, it came into my awareness that I could not feel vulnerable. Not just in front of people, but not in private. When the moment I felt vulnerable, or my heart began to open, it was gone. Like the feeling was whisked away. I didn't have to think about it. It was subconscious. It was a subconscious program that I had been running from the time I was a child, because of trauma, because of abuse, right? And I didn't know. I mean, I knew something. You don't know what you don't know. Do you understand what that means? Many of you will understand exactly what that means. You don't know what you don't know. And the truth is, I didn't know why that happened to me. It did feel like something was wrong with me, but I had no idea. It's not like I'm like, oh, well, hey, you know, I just thought some people have greater access to their emotions. I don't know. But then I began to learn about the effects of trauma and abuse, and how that closing off is something that is a behavior that children will adopt in order to not feel, you know, completely terrible about everything, and go on and go to school with a smile. But what happens is, you know, we build these walls, whether they be in the mind or over the heart, right? So I couldn't feel, I could not be vulnerable in front of people. I couldn't cry. I couldn't do anything like that. And I didn't know why. So I learned why, right? Terrific. Now what? I still can't feel. I still can't feel vulnerable. So I've become aware that I have an issue, a problem. Okay, now what? I had a physiological response to feeling vulnerable. I couldn't open my heart. So I'm sitting here right now, and with a thought, I can open my heart to you guys. And it feels so good. It feels so good to be able to express love in all of its capacity. But many men are taught that those feelings don't belong, that they're to be tampered down, they're to be stamped out. You know, many men are taught that you don't cry, and if you do, you'll get something to truly cry about. You know, and then so your emotional response, which is an outlet that God blessed us with, is then turned off. And what happens to those emotions? You think they go away? They don't go away. They get stuck in the body. And in my case, I had built Fort Knox over my heart, and I didn't even know it, right? So now what? Now I have this subconscious, physiological, psychological response. What was the catalyst to start searching? Great question, Flix. So one of my YouTube subscribers just asked a great question. She asked, what was the catalyst for me to start searching? The catalyst was, I was an actor, and I loved being an actor, and I was trying to play a man who was brokenhearted. He had lost everything when he found out the girl that he was in love with had been a prostitute, and he couldn't get over it because he was Catholic and all this stuff, and he was just annihilated, and I couldn't touch the role. I wanted to, with every fiber of my being. I wanted to play this drunk Irish sailor. He was. It was an O'Neill play. It's a beautiful play. It's the same play that Natasha Richardson and Liam Neeson fell in love with when they did it on Broadway. That's how powerful this love is between these two people. And I couldn't touch it. I faked it as best I could, but I couldn't feel it. I couldn't really feel it. And I had a great teacher, the best acting coach, still alive today. He's Leonardo DiCaprio's acting coach. He's the man. He was my teacher. And he said to me, he said, Faust, I was trying to play this role, and he stopped it. He stopped the rehearsal. He said, I'm not going to beat you up. I'm not going to yell at you. I can see that's already been done. And I didn't even register that statement. When I watched the tape afterwards, because they were recording the session, the rehearsal, I heard that, and I was like, oh my God, you know. He was right on it. He knew. I didn't know, because he had seen it probably in 1,000 students before, you know, 1,000 people who he's worked with. And he asked me if I wanted to play these kinds of roles. And I said, if I can't play these kind of roles, then I don't want to do anything else. And he said, well, then you need to find out why you've built the Empire State Building over your heart chakra. And I said, yeah, I guess I do. And so I went about. But first I had to learn what a functional family is, because I had no idea. You don't know what you don't know. And then I had to learn what constitutes abuse, because I was raised under the impression that I was a pretty fucking terrible kid, and that terrible kids who have good parents get the shit beat out of them. And that's what I understood. And I grew up thinking that, well, if your parents don't beat the shit out of you, then you're probably a fucking terrible kid. Meanwhile, apparently, I was also among the list, you know. So I had put myself in a situation to discover myself, you know. I know Flix just said from YouTube, she said, wait a minute, there are functional families, and I have to say, I don't think that there are, not many. Maybe 1% out there are functional. And so this wall that I had built, had been the cause of a lot of heartache because, I was trying to find a way to feel. And what do people do when they're either looking for an escape from how they're feeling or trying to find a way to feel? They search for external ways to do it. And that leads to addiction, inevitably, in every way you can imagine. And so I struggled for many, many years, But I had a mission now. My mission was to find a way to open my heart. And it was good timing too, because I had just become a father and I didn't want to do to my kids what had been done to me. And so, okay, great. Now I've confirmed with a talk therapist that, yeah, abuse, rampant, psychological, physical. Now what? Okay. How do I go about reconditioning my response and teaching myself to feel again? It took me so long to do that. I used meditation. I used the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I started to, I used the work of Drumvalo Melchizedek. I took workshops. I was motivated. And my motivation at the time was to become the next fucking Marlon Brando, because I thought that's what life was going to be about for me. But God, I was such a different person then. So everything I was doing was to become this great actor. And now, between you and I'm kind of ashamed I was an actor for so long, but I know now why I was. I was looking for a way to heal, to be able to express myself again. Part of me knew that I had lost something, right? Marlon Brando, you are way more than an actor like that. Thank you, Flix. I was a really good actor. I still am. But I had spent 20 years dedicated. And then when I finally got fluent with my emotions, I had no more desire to act. Now, isn't that ironic? Isn't that incredible? Once I freed myself of all those restrictions, that I had built, I didn't really have any desire to act anymore. If I ever go back to it, I could really knock them dead, but I don't know. I don't really want anything to do with that industry. Anyway, my point is, I had to go about changing my behavior, changing my reaction to things. I had to overcome all the subconscious programs, which had become physiological programs. And that's what addiction is. It's a physiological, psychological program, right? And that's why it's so hard to change. Change is one of the hardest things a human can do. I have a young son who, over the course of the 2020 health debacle, we'll call it, I'm not going to call it anything else because that's what it was, a shit show. We were stuck inside in Manhattan, and he developed head forward posture, being stuck inside, depressed online learning, which was a joke for any of you who were there for that. And in New York City, they were like, no, we're going to stay shut down. 2 years running, we're going to stay shut down. What a fucking nightmare. Anyway, he developed a head forward posture, or whatever they call that. I looked at him one day and I said, dude, I was like, what are you doing? He had no idea. So now I have a 10-year-old kid who has a subconscious habit. Do you know how hard it is? You can't get an adult to fix a head forward posture problem because it's so habitual. And now, I've learned the power of, and the health that goes with good posture and the chakras being aligned and open. And I'm looking at him, and I can't look at him without, it hurts my eyes. I'm like, so now I'm on him, this poor kid. My son, God bless his patient soul. I was on him like flies on shit. I mean, because it hurt me to see him sitting like that. And I just kept trying to get his, when you're 10 years old, the hemispheres have barely even begun to divide. You don't really have a subconscious and a conscious yet. But you can develop a habit that you're completely unaware of, even at that age, of course. And so, my God, we spent 2 years trying, I spent 2 years rehabituating him to physically sit with good posture, stand with good posture, to be aware of his posture. It was like one of the greatest challenges I've ever had. And it's like working with an addict. Every time you turn your back, they're like, I'm like, dude, oh, sorry. They just can't, you go right back into the habit. You go right back into the old programming, right back into the old self, until remembering becomes more powerful than forgetting, right? Until you've remembered so much that now your default is good posture. Now your default is being able to open your heart and feel vulnerable in front of people, and all the love and joy that comes along with that ability. Because when you close off to some things, you close off to others, right? It has to come from inside, Mr. Love. That's very true. So I got a lesson in that with my son, getting him to, my God, thank God he's patient, because I was torturous to him. I would tell him, I was nice about it. I wasn't like, sit up, I was just like, I would just constantly remind him. And I had to constantly remind him, or he would have never fixed it. And I knew I had a short window to do that, because if he hit puberty with that habit, forget about it. He was going to be one of these kids who's, 15 years old, walking around with the phone. No way. I couldn't take it. So I was on him. Anyway, my point is, your subconscious, you have to be very aware of it. So it's the way in, and it's also can be the biggest roadblock. That's what we've been talking about, right? And your subconscious will convince you of so many reasons to do something that you shouldn't do, and you have to be aware of it. You really got to be aware of your programming, and think about the result of what you're going to do, regardless of the justification your subconscious is providing. Because that's what the subconscious will do. It will provide you with reasons why you should do X, X, and X, even though that's the same thing you always do. Because now, here, it's a little different. But guess where it's going to lead? Right back to the same place you were. Right back to the old self, to the old pattern, to the old habit, to the old addiction, to the old state of complete disarray, despair, dishevelment, emotionally overwhelmed, stressed the fuck out, shamed self. That's where your subconscious will take you. Or you can use your subconscious to reprogram your mind to react the way you want to react, to be able to open yourself up the way you know you need to open yourself, to be able to deal with what comes your way. It's not going to just happen because you will it, and it's not going to just happen because you're aware that you should do it. You have to habituate that response in yourself. You're not going to heal anything just being aware. It doesn't work like that. You got to put it took you how many years to get the programming you got? A long time, right? And some people, and everybody knows people like this, right? And you're like, God, Tom is such an asshole, Yeah, that's just how Tom is. Tom gets a pass because Tom is an asshole now. Was Tom always an asshole? Why does Tom get a pass? Why do you think that you get to be a prick to people, that you get to screw people over? Because you're in the habit of doing so. Why do you think that your life is so fucking important and you're so self-absorbed that you're excused from the most basic courtesies and that you can do whatever you want because, well, you got a lot of stuff going on and it's stressful, and your response to that is the same response everyone has to stress, which is to be a dick. It's to be rude. It's to be a certain way to people. And you don't get an excuse. Your karma is affected from that. If whatever you do that causes a strong reaction both in yourself and in people, that is a karmic debt you take on, and you will pay for it one way or the other. You'll pay for it probably, and the same thing happening to you tomorrow and the next day. And you're like, why is this happening to me? It's happening to you because you keep doing the same fucking thing. That's why it's happening to you. Because you're not changing your behavior. You may be trying to change your mindset, but you're doing the same things. And that's why you're getting the same results. That's why you're having the same feelings, as shitty as they are, and as much as you want to change them. You're going to continue to have them until you change the behavior that leads to them. Sometimes that means changing everything, changing the way you do things. Because if you continue to do the same thing with variations here and there, you're going to get the same results every fucking time. I promise you. I know. And your subconscious will continue to feed you reasons why you got this. Just do it this way. It's okay this time because, well, actually, this is for you. This is what's best for you, right? Do that thing you always do. Okay. And so you begin to learn and you unmask the subconscious. And that's the key. And it's the challenge, man. But then you say, you know what? I can take advantage of this thing because I can use my subconscious to reprogram myself to do and be and feel just about any way I want to. I can become the person who I've always dreamed of becoming. First, get clear on who that person is, right? Make a list. I used to have this big old colossal list of the person I was, and it wasn't pretty, and I didn't want to show anyone. And I had this other list of the person I wanted to become. All these attributes, all this mindset, right? And slowly but surely, using meditation, using awareness, using consciousness, using all the techniques that I had been learning, I began to cross this list off and embody this list. Until now, I walk around with this list. Now, once in a while, something happens and I exhibit the behaviors of this list. I'm human. But I get back on my horse, I realize what I've done, and I try to rehearse what I'll do next time so that I don't fall back into that trap. So that I can continue to improve on what I've learned and maybe not do it again next time. Maybe react like the Buddha next time. Sometimes I try to embody the Buddha. I'll just sit there serene, and sometimes that works for people. Go into a situation you know is going to try you and embody Christ, embody the Buddha, embody whoever, Krishna, Kuan Yin, whoever it is that gives you the serenity that you need to be like water, to roll with the punches, to flow, to be in a flow state, to be kind to people, even in the middle of traffic, the subway, wherever you are, to be that person who's a beacon, right? That's the challenge. Because even if you are doing this work, if it's not affecting your interactions with your loved ones, then what are you really doing? If it's not changing you, if it's not making you more patient, less judgmental, kinder, if it's not allowing you more ability to love and be loved and allow others in to help, and then be there to help others, but don't leave yourself behind, because that is another very common trap. We people who were greatly wounded when we were young, we have this programmed desire to help others, particularly people who are going through what we went through. And oftentimes that is our wound. And that's what takes us out of ourselves. Like I got one of my best friends, he's found one wounded bird to heal after the next. And he will continue to. Unfortunately, most of the wounded birds he finds are very, very aggressive, oftentimes abusive. And I've made him aware of this, but the work is so painful, guys. The work can be they don't call it shadow work because it's all unicorns and sunshine. They call it shadow work because it can be very, very painful. But you know what? As painful as it is, it's what you come out of the other side of it with is priceless. There's so much joy that you don't realize you've been keeping yourself from. I promise you. So much profundity, so much gratitude in every moment of your life that you don't realize that you can't access, because you have this big old wall built. You have this wound that you won't heal. It's too painful. But if you're willing to do it, if you're brave enough to do it, because it takes a brave heart to do this work, then you can begin to experience the incredible reward of doing this work. But always more love, more patience, more understanding, more kindness, more encouragement. That's where it's at. Nothing feels better than helping people, right? That's why I love doing this. That's why I do what I do. Because if I can help one of you guys find a little more ease and joy and love in your life from something I've said, then I've accomplished everything a person could want to accomplish in one life. Just once, just one person. It's all worth it. It's all worth it to me. And that's why I appreciate you guys tuning in and letting me try to do that. It's the least I could do for what I've learned. But I should probably read the comments I haven't even looked at once. Theta healing was incredible. I agree, Karen. It's a winner. Let's see. Congratulations on overcoming. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that, brother. So a lot of guys go through this and they don't realize it, you know. Some girls were taught that too. Lady Kate, that's another thing that's very underestimated, how women can end up with a very closed heart too. Just like men. It's a real phenomenon. And it really can't be underestimated. A lot of women are taught that, particularly when they're close to their father. I've felt your heart so many times on here. You're definitely overcoming this. Thank you, Diana. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. What else I got? I'm sorry you went through that. Thank you, Carol. That's okay. I'm not sorry I went through it, Carol, because it made me who I am. It's the reason why I'm sitting here. So thank you. But don't be sorry. It ended up being the greatest gift that I could get, right? And how long did it take? So it took me, well, from the time I found out, probably 5-6 years, to get to a place where I could sit here like this and be vulnerable enough to tell you guys this. 5-6 years. By 2019, I was using this in my work, which was amazing. And then after 2020, I didn't have any more desire to use it in my work, but I just wanted to use it in my life. And I realized that the whole thing I was doing was not to become a better actor, it was to become a better human being, to become a better man. You know, it wasn't ever about the superficial. I thought it was, but I know now that was wrong. Let's see, what was the successful strategy you used to help him? Story of Palestine, are you talking about my boy? Mochichi, Singapore's in the house. What's up? How are you? Let me see here. Happiness. We have the same neck candy to bring us a higher vibration. Yes, we do, my friend. These art crystals are awesome. And I'd like to put it here because it's on my throat chakra. And I like to think that it helps me access more wisdom to share with you guys. I missed it. Oh, that's where you find the comments on YouTube. Oh my God, I have all these comments on YouTube. I'm new to this. I'm used to Instagram. Forgive me, guys. Let me read some YouTube comments. I did read most of them already. Found your channel a couple months ago with Troy Casey. Hey, that's great news. Thank you, Turn. Awesome interview, by the way. Appreciate that, man. Thank you, guys. Let me see. I got to get better at that. Thank you, Valderi. Thank you guys for tuning in on YouTube. I'm trying to do this more regularly so that I got both things going on. I appreciate all you guys tuning in today. Lady Kate, I'm so glad you made it. I'm glad you heard something that helped. Mochichi said everything is either an act of love or a call for love. That's right. That's what I said too. Thank you guys. What else we got going on? I think I'm caught up. Fantastic. But, I've been talking about the law of resonance, which is another scientific way of talking about the law of attraction. And I've been trying to to share as much as I can, because this is what I see people struggling with. People in the world, people in my life. The society is struggling to change, and what's going on for the micro is going on for the macro. I know that, right? Let me see, I have a YouTube comment here. Press this button. No, I don't know. There it is. Okay, wait. The chakra is under the Adam's apple. Your heart is, yeah. I'm in between flicks. I know. I'm in between chakras. But listen, you guys. I don't know if you guys saw my special on Bush and Clinton last Friday. Not to change subjects, but it's only an hour long. It premiered on YouTube. It's part 1, and I got a lot more coming, but it's explosive. If you're interested in those things, I know we've been talking about lofty matters, but I wanted to also share that I put that special out, and it's really good. And there's part 2 coming. I have a podcast coming out with Robert Morningstar. It's the second podcast I've done with him. Let me remind you who that cat is, okay? Robert Morningstar is the person. He's a civilian analyst, he's a researcher, he's a photography expert, he's a psychology expert, and he's the one who you saw that old podcast, Lady Kate, my first podcast with him, or you saw the one with Bush Clinton. Anyway, Robert's the one who discovered that J.D. Tippit, the man who Lee Harvey Oswald was accused of murdering, the only person Lee Harvey Oswald was ever accused of murdering, even though the press said he killed the president. He was never actually charged because he didn't do it. Anyway, J.D. Tippit was the cop that was murdered right at the same time as JFK. Happened to be shot in the head in the same way they tried to pretend JFK was. Oh, Bush. Okay, yeah, you saw Bush. What'd you think? It's just, the episode 1 is just the tip of the iceberg. But J.D. Tippit. So Robert Morningstar is the one who discovered. He was down and investigating J.D. Tippit's youth, and he talked to some of the people that J.D. Tippit went to high school with, and he discovered that J.D. Tippett's nickname in high school was JFK because he bore a striking resemblance to John Kennedy. And so what did he... we know there was a body double. We know that there was a casket fiasco. I know for a fact that the chain of custody for the casket was broken. And the autopsy they used to make their report was completely illegal. It was a fraud. By law, the chain of custody was broken. And there was 3 caskets. You guys got to watch my special on JFK if you want to hear about that craziness. But this man took a picture of J.D. Tippit and he cut it in half. And he seamlessly stitched it to a picture of John F. Kennedy. And when you see the resemblance, your jaw is going to be on the ground. I mean, that was one of the biggest contributions he made. So I've just had him on the podcast. And I also recorded a podcast with Zach Voorhees. Now, Zach Voorhees, for those of you who don't follow me on YouTube, not you guys, obviously. You obviously, if you're not following me on YouTube, I hope that I've won you over enough to subscribe. Some of you guys on Instagram don't even know I have a YouTube channel. I don't know what's going on here, but obviously the lack of communication is on my part. So I have a YouTube channel. It's called Far Out with FAUST. You should definitely subscribe to it. We're also on Spotify and iTunes if you want to listen to it. It's just that a lot of the videos have a lot of video complementary editing done. And so I recommend that you follow us on YouTube. For the stuff that gets too controversial, we put it on our Patreon page. That's another way you can support the channel and me, is through that. We have all kinds of cool tiers. Our top tiers get really awesome, personalized Far Out with Faust merch, which I'm excited to start shipping off. Let's see. You're on the spectrum of being tapped in. So close, man. It's tough. Okay. I think that's a compliment, but thank you. Thank you for that. And yeah, well, thank you, Dante. Dante, that's a great name. I grew up with a few Dantes, a lot of Italian Americans. Sorry, brother. Don't worry about it, Colby. I appreciate you, man. I know how busy you are, brother. You can always watch the replay. So my point was, Robert Morningstar came back. He was just on, and I just had Zach Voorhees back on. Zach Voorhees is the original Google whistleblower. He's the one that found out that they had a meeting after Trump was elected. He was there for it, and they were like, no longer can the American people be trusted to think for themselves. And Zach was like, what? I swear to God, like this happens, you know. And so Zach wrote a book about it called Google Leaks. And he stole 950 pages from Google and then, you know, made the mistake of giving it to the DOJ, which is like giving it right back to Google. But he didn't know better at the time. He was just trying to stay alive, you know. Anyway, so Zach came back on. Robert Morningstar came back on. Zach is never short of things to say. He's very plugged in. He has a big following on Twitter. But we talked a lot about what's going on. I don't know if you guys know about the whistleblower that was killed, the AI Google whistleblower that was murdered, that Indian young man that they ruled a suicide. Speaking of suicides, when you guys watch my Bush Clinton special, I'm going to go through the list of people who died of suicide with 2 gunshot wounds to the back of the head. Nice, Conrad. Thank you. Yeah, I should have mentioned that I have a YouTube channel. Anyway, I'm just wrapping it up for the evening. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Check out those videos I mentioned. Keep an eye out for them. If you're not on Instagram, check out my Instagram. If you're not on my YouTube, check out my YouTube. And for everything that gets too hot and heavy and censored, we have a Patreon page now, which if you want to support me and the channel, there's all kinds of tiers. I would love to invite you. It's a very, very freedom-loving, truth-seeking, spiritual community that we're building on Patreon. And you know, even if you come in, you can sign up. It's free to sign up. You get certain perks with each peer. What's up, Walter? Good to see you, buddy. Thank you guys. But thank you guys for joining me this Saturday night. I look forward to doing this again next week. I'll let you guys know what's up. Much love to all of you. Thank you so much for joining me, and God bless you guys. Enjoy the weekend with your families. I don't know how to end this on YouTube. Sorry, YouTube. Much love, Flicks. Thank you, guys. Let me just figure out how to stop this one. I'm not used to going live on YouTube. I can do it. Wait a minute. One of these buttons has to do it. I wonder if you can edit this. It's not working.